Dancing in the Moonlight. Written by Rita Bradshaw, read by Anne Dover. The moral right of the author has been asserted. Part 1. Two Families. 1925. Chapter 1. She wasn't ready to die. It was too soon. Death should come when you were resigned to it, when the pull of earthly ties had loosened their hold on the heart. That was the right order of things, the natural progression. But she grew weaker every day. Sometimes she'd swear the Grim Reaper himself was at her elbow. Raising herself a little in the narrow iron bed in which she was lying, Agnes Fallow waited a moment for the dizziness in her head that the movement had caused to subside, before she said, "Put the kettle on, lass, and we'll have a cup of tea before they're back from school, shall we?" Her daughter, who'd just finished skimming the layer of froth from a scrag of mutton before adding the rice and mixed vegetables and putting the pan on the hob again, turned and smiled at her. "All right, ma'am." It was a beautiful smile. Lucy was beautiful. Agnes sank back against the lumpy, flock-filled pillows, closing her tired eyes. Every day she thanked God for her Lucy. It wasn't just that her oldest daughter was the only one of her brood to take after her, with her massive golden-brown curls and deep blue eyes, but Lucy was as kind as she was bonny. Look how the bairn had taken herself off across the bridge into Bishop Wearmouth and bought that roll of material from the old market a couple of months ago. She'd got the lads to fix it up as a curtain, which could be pulled across the corner of the kitchen to hide her bed when she needed to use the chamber pot. None of the others had thought of that when she'd finally been unable to get outside to the privy. Only her Lucy. Once the tea was mashed, Lucy brought a cup to her mother, but seeing that she appeared to have fallen asleep, she stood looking down at her. Her mam was thinner. Her body barely made a mound under the blankets. As always, when the fear came, Lucy told herself her mother would turn the corner soon. That's what Dr. Pearson had said the last time he'd called, and he should know. Rousing herself, she bent and gently touched her mother's shoulder, saying softly, "Have a sup tea, ma'am? It'll do you good." "What?" Agnes's eyes opened and stared for a moment before she blinked. "Oh, I must have dozed off for a minute." Without being asked, Lucy helped her mother sit up and positioned the pillow behind her. The worn winceyette nightdress did little to conceal the way Agnes's bones protruded against the skin covering them, the emaciated frame so frail that sick dread rose again. "Can you eat something, ma'am? A biscuit to dip in your tea?" Agnes shook her head, the hair that had once been as rich and shiny as Lucy's, now wispy and brittle. Pulling tighter the shawl Lucy had placed round her shoulders, she took the cup her daughter was proffering and shakily raised it to her blue-tinged lips. It felt too heavy to hold. "I've put a spoonful of sugar in it. Sugar's good for you." Lucy sat down on the edge of the bed with her own tea. Moments like this with her mam were rare and to be treasured. From 6 o'clock in the morning, when she dragged herself out of the bed she shared with her sisters, 8-year-old Ruby, and the twins Flora and Bess, who'd just turned 2, she toiled without ceasing. After feeling her way downstairs in the dark, she would light the oil lamp on the kitchen table and then persuade the fire in the range into a blaze before setting the big pan of porridge, which she'd left soaking overnight ready for breakfast, on the hob. It was always nice and warm in the kitchen, unlike the bedrooms, which were icy. After boiling the water in the heavy black kettle, she helped her mother wash her face and hands and tidy her hair. Then she made the first pot of tea of the day. Once it was mashed, she gave her mother a cup and took one through to her father, who slept in the big brass bed in the front room, which he'd shared with her mother until she'd been taken sick 18 months ago. Something to
Sample complete. Ready to continue?